Hello, Internet, and thank you very much for tuning in to the Cloud Native FM podcast. Today we are talking about some of the very new tooling. If I search the internet every day, I look at the new tools that came up, and that's really helped me to go into the internet and find out the people who are actually developing those tools as well. So I invited a wonderful guest on this episode. We're talking about some of the cloud repatriation, open source advocacy, what it would be a good fit for the how to win the open source strategies in these economic stress time, typically we call in. And also we talk about some of the JetBrain IDE plugin, and one of the tool, there are so many available in the market with a name called Perforator. And previously, before the own call, he did me some wonderful demos to the project. So I'm really impressed by the approach Perforator is actually being adopting, and some of the functionality it's bringing to for the developers and the DevOps team as well. So without any further delay, I have joined by a wonderful guest, Michael Solovev, all the way from Germany, Berlin, I guess. And specializes in engineering management and also some of the open source stuff he's been doing on the JetBrain IDE plugin and a tool called Perforator.
Okay. I was an IC before, and I think more than over 10 years I'm doing the engineering management and leadership. And of course, recently I was curious mostly about the AI and how to adapt the AI and to improve the work of the developers and DevOps and the SREs and so on. Yes, as you mentioned, I was working in some of my pet projects, the IDE plugins for the JetBrains IDE, which help for that. So it's actually about two plugins. One is called Perforator, which you already mentioned, which takes the data from the profiler, from the Grafana Pyroscope, and renders the performance information inside the IDE. And then another one is called Desert. It's like an IDE tool that helps you to generate unit tests from your runtime data with AI.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you very much for your quick intro, Michael. Always it's so nice to meet you here as well. And from learning from about your experience as well, because I look at the both of your tool, Desert and Perforator, I think it has very wonderful enterprise use cases as well. And that's got me to understand I need to learn more from you on this episode of the Cloud Native FM. So, Michael, can you quickly introduce us and tell us some of the early motivation behind Perforator and tell us about the user story, how it's actually originated and how it's actually been, what some of the things you actually been looking at and that's actually excited you to create a project or a small playground called Perforator first.
I'll probably start from my experience working on the performance optimization back when I was an IC. And I spent a lot of time back then in New Relic looking into the profiling data. Back then it was e-commerce projects with PHP. So I was looking into where we can optimize in terms of the performance, because there was a clear correlation between the revenue and the conversion rates and the performance of our app. And back then I saw like how good it works, how it helps me as a developer to understand better how the application functions, where we have the bottlenecks, how the real traffic affects the performance, because you don't see this on a small scale. You have a less number of products, you have a smaller database locally, so you don't have this representation of how your application behaves on a bigger scale and a bigger traffic. So it helped me as a developer, and now I thought, okay, we have a problem with AI that it's hallucinating a lot, and and it could be helpful if we get this information about how it functions in production to help us to adjust the code locally for developers and SREs and so on. So I thought, okay, it would be interesting to have a look if there is a profiling tools apart from New Relic, maybe open source like Grafana, that like can give you this information over API, and then you can integrate this into the IDE and show developers, hey, you have a function that is too slow and you might want to optimize it, so you can copy information about this method that you want to optimize and send it to your AI agent, which will refactor the code for you, like Cloud Code or Juni from the JetBrains. So that was exactly my motivation, is to build this integration between the profiling tools, which is running in cloud, and integrate it into the IDE, which also helps to integrate with AI agents. So this data can be used as a context for the refactoring of the code and making application more performant.
Yes, absolutely. And I think currently, I think back in the because I work a lot in the open source cloud native computing foundation, open source technologies. So I think there are some tools available in the profiling landscape there as well. And I think there's a lot of the need in the industry right now because I think most of the stuff that has been generated, we need to understand what if it who had done this stuff. Is it an AI? Is it a human? Is it a next process? It's an API call. So and how and if it's happening and if it's running, what are the causes of the initialization of the wave as well? But I think some of the listener to this podcast might be relatively new. So I want to ask a very quick question. Might be a very silly question, but I would like to know your thoughts on that as well. So sometimes there's a misconception between the what the profiling data is and what it actually been done. So Michael, from your understanding of working in the tech sector, in particularly working on the perforator, what is the profiling means for you, or what is profiling in itself you think should do for the application insight, or it's a infrastructure detail, or is it an API calls? What is actually profiling is?
Yeah, well, actually, it's a very good question. And I think that we also need to um, go a little bit on the higher level before we answer that question and talk about observability and what it means for us here. So it gives us a clear picture of what's going on your in your application. And for me, profiling was always the tool to see what exactly happens in the code, and see which methods are slow. So where we had the engineering issues, architectural issues. So it gives a lot of information, not for the just incident management, but generally in continuous improvement of your application. So if you see it correlates with your conversion rate, you might want to have a look where you can make these wins, what's worth it to invest time and efforts to improve the performance and get some more sales. Just because of this, just because it's faster and customers have a better customer experience. So for me, it was always a tool to help me to find a way how to improve customer experience, which is technical tool, but we are talking about business here.
Yes.
If you, it's not that often that, in my opinion, that's what I saw that developers use it, and I was always trying to get profiling first in any project which I joined, because it gave me so much information about what's going on and where are potentials to win. And I can just give you an example from my experience. I started on one of the projects, which wasn't that successful, and the team was really struggling into managing the project. And the first thing I was asking is to integrate the new Riddick, and I think in a few weeks we found that there was a Facebook module, login with Facebook, which didn't work, but it slowed down every page of the online shop. And after we killed this, I think we had a couple of days of sales where we got conversion rate improved by 43%. And it was, 1 day change and commit. But if you compare the revenue before and after, it was worth it. Definitely worth it. So it's a great tool to improve sales, understand what's going on in your project, to train junior developers so they have a big picture of what's going on, what are the hotspots of your application, where are the risks and where you should put more attention. So it's also educational tool for developers and training tool. So there are a lot of different aspects, a lot of different values around and inside the profiling that helped me as a developer before and helps me as an engineering manager today. And I think it will be helpful, same as for people, it will be helpful for AI because it's a context, which is very valuable when you want to change something. You want to understand what are hotspots, say for AI, or how I can, how it correlates and so on. So this is a very valuable source of the context for human and for the AI.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. As you mentioned, I think from the observability point of view, you need to have a profiling data in place because you need to understand that what are the API call has some latency spike into it. Might be there's a one payment method in the API call that is actually been every time it's hit by some of the other third-party tooling, it's been blocked down. It's not expecting it is correctly. And that's one business logic where the 90% of your customer base is actually dependent upon, and might be the 70% of the code is dependent upon, is not working. So you are actually failing on sales. It's not just a technical issue, it's technical issue that leads to the slower sales. And I think for the business point of view, you need to solve this immediately. And in case of the developers, developer do all the forensic of going into the code and see which code is actually is not working, and it's take a humongous amount of time. It's a very tedious work, and even though it's a found out, but it's hour of investment. So we definitely need some tooling in place that tell us line 68 that causes 40% of the delays in there. Let's make that an engineering decision or architecture decision to fix it to the microsecond rather than the milli or seconds time. So, and that's where you actually bring down these, and that's tooling really helps you. And once you actually identify those tooling, and we have already wonderful tool in the market that can actually add policy enforcement into it, like make sure the next time the things actually causes that biggest interruption or the latency is make sure the next time the code is committed that is actually being cleaned up and no more developers adding these line of code in there. So I think once you actually collect that profiling, the next wave is very easier. Now you can do the forensic, you can do the incident management, and you can also do the policy and governance on top of it as well. So making sure the next time those things won't be appearing, and if or things are appearing quite often, this make sure we need to do some architectural changes in the code, in the way of working and the way of the styling as well. So I think it's a very is no longer there's a prerequisite for having observability. Observability is a need, and I think if you don't actually adding observability into the stack, I think you can't survive in the very you are in the wild west of network where one thing's actually causing down million of dollar just a day of 1 hour of outage or even a 30-minute of delays as well. So it's nice to have those tools as well. But in terms of the perforator, there's so many other in the tool in the market available. Is that now give us a very quick glimpses of the technological things in the perforator. Tell us about a developer experience. Like if they want to go into the perforator GitHub, what would be they do? They can create a CLI, run it locally, how they integrate with some of the already stacks available, and they want to collect like profiling data from that. Or if it's somebody running an LLM or MCP server, what would be the developer workflow of using Perforator?
Okay, maybe I can show something. Thing we just need to have is to have a Pyroscope, which is an observability tool by Grafana, that the one that collects and represents the data from your application. Yeah, so this is a prerequisite that you already have profiling in place, configured with a Pyroscope. And of course, it would be very, as we discussed, it would be very useful for us to have the bottleneck information. I took this slide from the Pyroscope GitHub. So they actually show the value of having this of this diagrams and having Pyroscope installed. Could you please go to the next one? So yeah, what actually it does, it just shows you the indication of the performance of your app per method or per function. And of course, it would be very helpful for you as a developer to see this information. Yeah, so yeah, it's called Perforator because of the performance stuff. So that's how the naming came. And yeah, actually, what it does, it just takes so it connects to the Pyroscope and pulls the data through the API and renders all this performance badges in your IDE. But like how the Pyroscope gets it, it takes, for example, your Java application and gets the JFR profiling data and converts it to the pprof format, and the pprof format is getting requested by the Perforator over API. So it's quite easy to use this tool. I was trying to keep it as simple as possible. Once you have a configuration in your IDE, so first of all, you need to install the module. Yeah. So in the JetBrains IDE, it's very simple. You can go to the plugin settings and you can search for the Perforator and you will find the plugin. You can just install it right from your IDE, and there is nothing special about that. And once it's installed, and you configure this in settings. Configure means you need to define where is your API, your credentials, so you can retrieve the data. And once you have this, you can just go to tools and fetch profiling data, and then you will see already the badges. And if you want to adjust, you can change the profiling type, so it will be CPU or memory. And you can change the timing, so it could be 15 minutes, 40 minutes, 3 days, 7 days, and so on. And you can define the threshold. So, for example, if you have 50 milliseconds threshold, everything which is above 50 milliseconds, it will be red. So it's quite transparent for you. And if you open any other files, you will also see badges because it will retrieve all the data for the project, the whole project, not just for this specific file. And actually, this is more complicated workflow, which you can use with this, with the Perforator, is when you want to involve the AI code generation here. So basically, it's the same. Pyroscope gets profiling data from your application, and Perforator retrieves the data. And once you right-click on these bottlenecks labels, which you have on the left, you can paste this into the Cloud Code or Junie, which you can install as a plugin into your JetBrains IDE. And once you configure the MCP server for Cloud Code or Junie, you already have, you can configure it to also communicate with Pyroscope. So you basically can copy your prompt, which is like, please improve the performance for this specific method, and put it into paste it into the Cloud Code or Junie, and then Cloud Code or Junie will connect to the Grafana MCP server and request all the additional related information to the Pyroscope, because there could be some methods which are related but not in the original prompt, but the MCP server is exactly for this case to get the related context. And then it's a job for your AI agent to refactor the code to improve the performance of this specific method or couple of methods. And that is a demo from the Pyroscope, from their GitHub repository. So they have a sample app, which is the rideshare, as far as I remember, which is kind of deployed in different regions and collects profiling data altogether on a Pyroscope server. So I'm running this locally, and you can do the same. You can just pull this project, the sample project, from their GitHub repository, and you can run this locally to try the Perforator. And here is the video, and here is the video how this works. So you just fetch the data, and you can right-click to copy the prompt. You can just paste it in your AI agent and wait for some time until it requests the MCP server and requests the Pyroscope, and then it will refactor your code base. So then it's done. So basically you save a lot of time by letting AI help you to optimize your code in relation to the real production live data. And it actually works. Yeah, and it actually works for, like, I tested it with different AI agents, but actually it would work with anything that can communicate with MCP servers and can change your code. Junie and Cloud Code, they have JetBrains IDE plugins, which you can install and use. And actually, currently, it works with Java and Kotlin programming languages. For the observability, it was mostly with Grafana Pyroscope because I think, from what I saw, in comparison to other profiling tools, it has a best API for getting this profiling data. But currently, I'm also looking into the Google Cloud Profiler and trying to integrate this as well. So that's in my plans for the nearest future. And it's available now in the JetBrains marketplace. It's the same as if you go to your into your IDE marketplace and install plugin from there. So you can just do it from the website or directly from your IDE. And I just was thinking about what's the current role of the IDE, because I think it's a little bit changing at the moment. Previously, it was a tool that helps you as a developer to write a correct code, to write code faster, to validate if like do static analysis of your code and so on. But currently, it feels like it's more a context management tool, or going in this direction, because it's more about the AI code generation, and you might be interested in getting as much context which is relevant to the code generation as possible. So you are adding MCP servers, you are using more data for this. You need to orchestrate which data is necessary for current code generation, how to compact it in the prompt, and how to fit into the context window, and so on. So I think the IDEs will be moving more into this direction. I think there is a demand for this. And there is one issue which I faced, is that current AI agent, you can write something there and write prompts, but if you're developing some plugins or some tools and you want to push something to the AI agent like Junior Cloud Code, there is no integration for this IDE AI agents. So it would be I think, very useful for me as a plugin developer to be able to skip the step when you need to right click and copy the prompt and paste it into the AI agent. So then Perforator could just do this directly. So you can just right click and it will optimize your code in relation to the real-time production performance issues. I created actually two tickets, both for Junie and Cloud Code IDE plugins, so they enable this possibility in their plugins, so other plugin developers can push prompts to the AI agent and let them do something. And actually, it's a open source project. It's under MIT license, and contributors are very welcome. So if you would like to, if you see that it makes sense for you, or you have some new ideas, always glad to get in touch with you and to discuss what we can do together. And so it's open for developers to contribute.
Awesome, wonderful. That's great. That's very wonderful. I think one of the things I really like about the tool is one of their ability as a developer's workflow. I think it's really a kind of a very unique advancement, because as you mentioned, I think I've spent time with the development for the last 6-7 years. I know how painful it is to collect data and then actually do the forensic of which API call actually been delaying my business logic. And if I go into this perforator approach, I really love the way you actually make it super easy, super nice for the developer. You just go into the IDE, fetch the profiling data, And I love the way you actually being a very easy to go UI rather than it's been so much in there. It's a very easy constructible UI. You just actually select some of the CPU and the threshold, and you actually indicate which part of the code is actually being delaying your process. I think it's super neat and super helpful. I think the UI part I really like about it. And one thing I do that you showed me is like this approach when actually you collect the profiling data, you understand where the pain point is. And now remember, we're living in an AI world. It's not just we actually throw in and ask the senior junior developer to fix the issue. Is the AI can do the enhancement and can do the compatibility for you, and your problem is solved. So it's super wonderful developer workflow. So I really appreciate the path this tool actually being created. And in term of this thing, I think currently as of now, there's a Grafana Pyroscope and more observability tool can become. Like if we have, let's say, Datadog, if we have Dynatrace, if we have some other commercial or third-party tooling, I can also collect the fetching of the profiling data from there. And then the MCP server part is Route Net Juni and Cloud Code, but that can be added more in the near future as well. And in terms of the programming language, where I can see this is like these are the two languages you actually been write some of the configuration, or is like programming language in the sense of fetching the profiling data or do the enhancement part of it?
Well, actually, these programming languages which are supported by the profiler,
Okay.
because it could be different, a little bit different depending on the programming language you use or like programming language of your application. For the Pyroscope, it could be different, and that's why the JVM languages are supported here. Same for my future plans with Google Cloud Continuous Profiler. It will also be for the Java applications mostly for now, but it would be great to do this for other languages as well. It's just, I need to make some first step with some languages, and for me it was just the easiest step with Java and Kotlin. What's related to other profiling tools, apart from a Pyroscope, uh, the Pyroscope was just the easiest one to start with. And I was looking into New Relic, into Datadog, and to others to understand if they provide the API. And unfortunately, it's not that as easy as for the Grafana Pyroscope. So maybe it's possible, but I didn't find the way to do this yet. But for the Google Cloud, I think it will be possible. I'm already trying to retrieve the data, and currently it's in development.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think I love the project, the developer workflow, the developer's UI is kind of a really unique feature to have it. A lot of the platform engineering initiative spoke about having a very good developers friendly setup, developers workflow, having a very easy to conceive some of the steps you need to the consideration. And this tool have those concepts as well. So I really love the way this tool is. In the near future, this can be expanded to some of the other cloud native infrastructure as well, where you can actually go into the UI and see which one of the Kubernetes related pod is actually been dying out because of the CPU threshold has been not much enough to run the workload, or it's been causing more than what it is need to be expected from the first step. So I think there are some of the capabilities can be built into it. So I would like to see in the near future might be the community member hop into it and add more into the perforator as well. I think what you show me today, I think that's really missing in the other perforator tools out there in the market as well. And I think it's a very kind of a very unique use cases because I think currently a lot of the enterprise setup and open also with other open source integration tool, profiling is a must to have. Because we're working with the MCP server. I don't know where the AI is heading toward us, but some of the stuff is we need to understand who has done this, and that the profiling is one of the way to actually ingest what are the causes, limitations, or the barrier to stuff is not running as expected. And you can actually indicate the step and then the fixing is going to be really easy. So it's super nice, Michael, to know your tool, and a lot of the best wishes around the tool as well. So before the wrap up, considering in the next closing down the 2025, what is in progress as of now?
Yes, so for me, the priority currently is to integrate with Google Cloud Continuous Profiling. And that would be enough for me because it's a pet project. I cannot unfortunately spend so much time as I wish to spend on this. And I think that would be already a good step because it's a tool that is widely used. I mean, there are a lot of customers on the Google Cloud. Pyroscope is quite specific use case, yeah. So it doesn't come out of the box on AWS, as far as I understand, or Azure or Google Cloud, but Google Cloud is coming out of the box. So for me, it's I think I want just to cover as more people as possible to give them the possibility to integrate this in their IDEs.
Awesome, 100%. It's really nice to see the stuff and I think especially there are so many good customers around the GKE or Google Cloud and stuff as well. So we'd like to see how this progress further. But thank you very much, Michael. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Learned a lot from this conversation, and I expecting to see. I hopeful in the near future can I also can contribute to this amazing project as well. And guys, if you anybody listening to this podcast, if you have some question, I know you have a lot of them, please put them into the YouTube comment section, and I will definitely add some of those to Michael to tell us how those questions are being answered. But thank you very much for listening to this podcast. Hope to meet you with another guest with another cool topic from the open source and the cloud. Looking forward to having you meeting again. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye, everyone.